There's a moment, quiet, almost invisible, when someone questions your character, mocks your path, or twists your words to provoke you. Instinct kicks in. You want to defend, to explain, to prove your heart was good. But here's a truth few admit. Each time you scramble to justify yourself, you trade away your peace, your presence, and your self-respect. The Stoics warned, don't surrender your mind to the opinions of others. Yet most people give up their dignity the second someone misunderstands their silence, their strength, or their boundaries. Why is that? Because it feels safer to be understood than to be misjudged. Most crave approval more than they crave respect. But that's not the Stoic path. The Stoic isn't driven by validation. They walk with an inner certainty that stands firm, even in the face of doubt. In this lesson, you'll uncover the power of restraint, the deep psychology behind purposeful silence, and why refusing to defend yourself can be the boldest, most freeing move you'll ever make. When you stop explaining, you step out of the dance of predictability. And when you're no longer predictable, you become untouchable, your peace unshaken, your energy protected. Welcome to Stoic Philosophy Daily, where your story matters. Share your experience or your biggest struggle below. Every comment you leave is a gift. Here, your voice matters. We read with care, answer with heart, and treat your journey as part of our own. This is more than a channel. It's a circle of strength. Drop a comment. I choose respect over validation. Get ready to discover why silence is not weakness. It's your greatest power. 1. Don't chase validation, choose presence. There's a deeper reason we hurt when someone misunderstands us. It isn't just their words, it's the silent fear underneath. The part that whispers, if I just explain myself perfectly, maybe they'll finally see me. This psychological trap keeps most people spinning. The urge to be understood feels like power, but it's really the moment you give it away. Because the instant you rush to fix someone else's view, you're no longer steering your own life. You're reacting to theirs. Why do we get caught so easily? Because misunderstanding stirs an old pain that unless someone else approves, who we are isn't enough. The Stoics named this, a mind ruled by external opinions becomes a prisoner to them. You're not living in reality, but in your own anxiety. Anxiety that always wants to explain, to justify, to correct. But each time you defend, clarify, or plead your case, you lose more than energy. You give away authority. Their perception grows more important than your peace. Your identity shrinks around their misunderstanding. The more you explain, the smaller you feel, locked in the explanation loop. A cycle where you hand others the remote to your emotional state, chasing clarity that never arrives. Explanations don't win clarity. It's built by presence. Here's the deeper truth. People who truly know you don't need endless defense, and those who demand it rarely deserve it. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, if external things pain you, it is not they that disturb you, but your own judgment of them. The urge to explain is fueled by judgment. Every time you tie your peace to what someone else thinks, you hand over the steering wheel of your own mind. Try this. Next time you feel that rush to explain, pause. Notice the urge and the panic beneath. Ask, am I defending truth or my ego's need to be seen? Instead of clarifying, anchor yourself in silence. Yes, it's uncomfortable at first, but feel how the urge fades when you choose presence over panic. Each pause is like building a muscle, reclaiming energy, self-trust, and calm that would have been lost. Over time, you'll notice misunderstanding loses its power and your center grows steady. What would change if you stopped fixing perceptions that aren't yours to control? How much lighter would you feel if you let silence hold the space instead of scrambling for approval? At Stoic Daily, we believe you owe no one your peace. Drop "I choose presence over permission" in the comments. When was the last time you let silence protect your power? 2. The power of stillness when attacked. When you rush to explain, you're not standing firm. You're asking for permission to exist. Here's a truth most people avoid. Anyone who truly knows you doesn't need your defense, and those who demand explanations rarely deserve them. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If external things pain you, it is not they that disturb you, but your own judgment of them." When you leap to defend, you're not serving truth. You're serving fear. The fear of losing control over how you're seen. Reacting makes you predictable. You push, they push back. You accuse, they scramble to justify. But the one who holds their ground, who stays silent, becomes unreadable, calm, steady, a presence that cannot be pulled off center. Their silence becomes a mirror, forcing others to sit with their own assumptions. The energy flips. Suddenly, it's not you on trial, it's their narrative, exposed by your stillness. Maybe you fear that silence makes you look guilty, that if you don't explain, people will assume the worst. But pause and ask, what kind of strength does it take to remain quiet when accused? What type of self-mastery is required to let criticism pass through you without gripping it? Carl Jung observed that people will do almost anything to avoid facing themselves. Many attacks are projections, and many explanations are attempts to soothe the discomfort those projections stir in us. The Stoic path is not cold or passive, but clear, rooted in self-command and principle. It's the discipline to care about what actually matters: your values, your stability, your conduct. The easy path is to talk, to defend, to chase relief. The harder, a more powerful path is to stay rooted when your character is questioned, to maintain your clarity rather than trade it for temporary comfort. There's another quiet advantage. When you stop explaining, you stop handing people material to twist. Words can be bent, intentions misread, details distorted, but silence offers nothing to grab onto. You become a mirror, and sometimes that reflection is the only thing strong enough to make someone look inward, even if they resist it at first. Try this. The next time someone presses you for an explanation, catch the surge to respond. Feel the discomfort in your chest, but don't rush to escape it. Take one slow breath and hold your posture. Notice how the emotional charge shifts when you stay composed. Ask yourself, does this moment truly deserve my words, or is my stillness the stronger answer? How much of your clarity have you given away in the past to ease tension? Each time you choose silence with awareness, you strengthen your center and loosen the grip of others' judgments on your mind. At Stoic Daily, we believe stillness under pressure is the mark of real strength. Drop "I hold my ground in silence" in the comments. When was the last time you let silence become your shield? 3. The freedom of being misunderstood. Most people scramble to be understood, as if every misunderstanding were a fire that must be put out immediately. But imagine this: instead of racing to explain yourself, you let the misunderstanding burn out on its own while you remain steady at the center, not passive, not defeated, simply unmoved. When you stop explaining yourself, you stop handing people ammunition. They want your words so they can twist them, your explanations so they can poke holes and pull you into their frame. Stay still, stay composed, and suddenly they're left with nothing but their own noise. Your calm becomes the loudest presence in the room, shifting the balance of power without a single argument. This isn't avoidance. It's a different kind of dominance. Not aggression, but groundedness. While others scramble for validation, needing everyone to see and approve them, you learn to be at peace with being misunderstood. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid," because the need for approval bends you out of shape, turns you into a performer, and makes your wisdom look like anxiety. Each time you explain yourself to someone who isn't truly listening, you hand over a piece of your backbone and call it communication. The more you explain, the more control you lose over the story. The more you hold your ground, the more others begin to question their own version. That's how quiet power moves, not with drama or clever words, but with the discipline to stay centered. Your presence becomes your argument. People might label you arrogant, cold, or distant. Let them. When you sit in the discomfort of being misjudged without rushing to correct it, you loosen the cage of constant explanation that once held you. Here's the twist. When you stop chasing understanding, people often respect you more, not because you gave in, but because you showed something rare: inner control, quiet discipline, emotional self-sufficiency. The person who doesn't flinch, over-explain, or collapse under opinion carries a strength most never build. You don't need to play the witness. You don't need to make a case. Your life, lived with calm and conviction, becomes the evidence. Try this. The next time you feel tempted to defend your reputation or intentions, notice the surge to speak, then let it pass. Feel the tension in your body and stay with it, rather than escaping through explanation. Stay rooted in your values while others project their assumptions. Ask yourself, what would change if you stopped performing for approval? How much freedom would be returned if you allowed misunderstanding to exist without fighting it? Each time you do this, you reclaim a little more of your energy and teach your mind that peace does not depend on being understood. At Stoic Daily, we believe discipline isn't about convincing the world. It's about standing still when your character is tested. Drop "I am free" from the need to explain in the comments. When did you last choose your own peace over being understood? 4. Let stillness be your strength. Here's the paradox. The less you seek to be understood, the more people respect you, not because you met their demands, but because you show a power they can't define. Stillness is quiet discipline. It says, I don't need to react to be in control. I don't need to speak to be heard. Most people never find this power. They're too busy defending, always arguing their character. The Stoics knew, your actions speak before your words. When accusations fly, let the stones fall. Don't rush to defend. Each time you remain still, your presence becomes undeniable, not through shouting, but through calm composure. Anxiety is natural when motives are questioned. The body tightens, the mind races for relief. But if you pause, you'll find the discomfort isn't just about being misjudged. It's the old fear of losing belonging. Now, this is where your silence shifts the room. As tension rises, your refusal to explain changes the dynamic. Accusations linger, circling in the stillness you create. When the noise fades, you remain steady, untouched. Not because you fought for understanding, but because you chose not to fight. True freedom is found in letting go of the need to justify, reacting hands over control. Composure keeps your center. The world claims silence is weakness, but the Stoics called it command. When you hold still, attention shifts to your response. Your stillness becomes the loudest event in the room. Uncertainty carries weight. Some admire it, some resent it, but almost all respect it. In a world addicted to explanations, the one who stands still cannot be moved. Stillness isn't avoidance. It's a command, a way of protecting the space between stimulus and response. That's where your freedom lives. Try this. The next time you're misunderstood or accused, feel the urge to defend, but let it pass. Hold your posture, breathe, and notice the shift. Ask yourself, what do I gain by letting others sit in their own uncertainty? What kind of respect grows when I keep my clarity instead of trading it for quick approval? Every moment you choose stillness, you reinforce that dignity comes from being grounded, not from being believed. At Stoic Daily, we believe true strength is measured by how much you can leave unsaid. Drop "I choose" command through stillness in the comments. When did your silence speak louder than any defense? 5. Stillness is strategy, not surrender. When you choose to hold your silence, you're not giving up power, you're protecting it. Most people react too quickly, rushing to fill the uncomfortable gap, worried that silence will make them look weak. But here's the truth. Silence is unpredictable. That unpredictability unsettles. It shifts the mood in the room, forces others to pause, and makes them more cautious than they expected. When you don't flinch or explain, the accusation hangs, its weight drifting back toward the accuser. In those first seconds after being challenged, your chest tightens, your mind searches for words, and a small panic warns you to speak. But if you breathe through it and stay still, discomfort starts to move from you to them. Your silence thickens the air, their confidence wavers, the focus shifts from their accusation to your self-command. That's quite leverage, the kind most never master. This is what the Stoics called non-resistance. You don't let disrespect control your mood or pull you into shallow games. Reacting emotionally only reveals your triggers. But when you stay rooted, you send a different message. Your self-control can't be manipulated, not out of superiority, but because you've trained yourself to be unmoved by noise. Carl Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." In this way, silence becomes your mirror. The urge to react is often a reflection of your fear of being misunderstood or disliked. But here's the paradox. The more comfortable you are with being misread, the more powerful and centered you become. People stop seeing someone desperate for approval. They see someone whose direction is set from within. Stillness reveals what words can't. The person who lashes out first exposes their insecurity. The one who waits becomes unreadable and harder to control. That's the Stoics' aim, anchored in their own judgment, unmoved by crowds. Stillness isn't about never speaking. It's about speaking only when it matters, clear, intentional. Silence gives you the space to think, detach, and see what's really happening beneath the surface. You spot insecurity, jealousy, and the real motive. Once you see it, you're free of its pull. You set the tempo, and this is the shift. When you stop reacting, you stop validating their games. Some provoke to watch you scramble. Your reaction is their reward. But when you remain calm, you send a message they didn't expect. Your composure says, "Your words don't move me." That's what shakes people more than any defense. Over time, people notice. They see you not defending, not justifying, not begging for understanding. They question the one who keeps shouting. The room leans in your direction, not because you argued, but because your stillness revealed the truth. Try this. Next time someone tests you or tries to bait a reaction, pause and let silence settle. Feel the urge to defend, but don't obey it. Ask, if I let this accusation hang, what happens to its power? How much energy would I save if I stopped fighting for the approval of those who've already judged me? At Stoic Daily, we believe true composure is forged in the space between stimulus and response. Drop "I choose stillness" over struggle in the comments. When did your silence shift the room more than your words? 6. The influence of unshakable presence. True strength isn't shown by how fast you defend your reputation, but by how calmly you hold your ground when others misunderstand you. When someone throws a label your way and you don't react, their words lose grip. In that silence, something powerful unfolds. The accuser faces their own assumptions. Silence becomes a mirror, reflecting your self-control and exposing the insecurity behind the attack. You didn't need to humiliate or win. You simply refused to play the game. That, more than any comeback, shifts the energy in the room. Beneath the surface, a deeper tension runs. The first instinct when misjudged is an anxious urge to jump in and fix the narrative. Not just for justice, but for a craving to be seen as good, to belong. But resisting that urge breaks the cycle. The discomfort you feel is the old habit of chasing approval. As you hold your presence, that discomfort transforms. Anxiety softens into groundedness. Fear turns into quiet power. Choosing not to engage in emotional back-and-forth signals, you value peace over validation. This isn't about being aloof. It's clarity. It's choosing calm over emotional combat, guarding your balance instead of giving it up for someone else's approval. The more you stand in this space, the fewer people test your limits, not because you're feared, but because you're steady and difficult to shake. Being liked feels safe, but needing to be seen as good can make you brittle. You trade your inner stability for brief approval from those who may never respect you. The Stoics taught, real influence is built from presence, calm authority when you're centered in yourself. Presence needs no defense or correction. People feel it when you don't crave validation. Here's the twist. The less you try to be liked, the more respect you command, not through arrogance but quiet confidence. You're content to let misunderstandings stand. That's maturity. Stoicism doesn't promise you'll always be understood, only that you can always own your calm. Let people be wrong about you and keep your peace. That's rare strength. Master it, and you become immune to noise. Not numb, just unaffected. In a world obsessed with approval, true influence is felt, not counted. It's the gravity of someone who doesn't explain every move or chase every narrative. That presence makes people pause, not because you justified yourself, but because you never had to. Try this. Next time someone labels or questions you, let their words land and let the urge to defend pass through you. Stay present, stay calm. Ask, what do I lose by letting this misunderstanding exist? Who really benefits if I rush to fix their opinion? Notice how the power dynamic shifts when you're willing to be misunderstood without apology. At Stoic Daily, we believe the space between what happens and how you respond is sacred. Guard it well. Share in the comments, I build my peace within. When did your calm change the energy of a room? 7. Presence speaks louder than defense. Sometimes the most powerful move in a room is the one you don't make. A conversation flows, then a subtle jab lands about your past, your silence, the way you carry yourself. Eyes turn, heat rises, the urge appears to defend, to strike back, to prove you're not weak. That surge is human, and that moment is the real test. Most people falter here not from weakness, but because silence after accusation feels unbearable. Each second without a response feels like losing ground. But when you hold eye contact and let the moment breathe, the energy shifts. Anticipation turns to uncertainty, uncertainty to respect. Your restraint speaks louder than any rebuttal. This isn't ego, it's mastery. When you stay composed, you become the anchor in the room. Attention moves away from the insult and toward your refusal to be moved. By that pause isn't empty, it's a mirror, reflecting both your self-command and the insecurity behind the provocation. The Stoics trained for this. Silence was a muscle. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion. There is never a need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you can't control." Most people rush to fill tension with words and lose the room. The steadier you remain, the more the dynamic changes. Power doesn't always move. Sometimes it holds. Carl Jung observed, "A man who is unconscious of himself acts in a blind, instinctual way. Many expect you to react on instinct, to match their energy. When you don't take the bait, you stop being a participant and become the center of gravity. The drama floats until its creator is exposed by their own noise. This isn't coldness, it's clarity. You don't owe rumors a reaction or attackers an explanation. What you owe yourself is the dignity of being undisturbed. Each time you resist the urge to answer, your silence gains depth, not emptiness, but authority. You don't need to win the moment because you've already won within. As self-knowledge grows, the need for validation fades. Triggers shrink. That's not suppression, it's sovereignty. Your calm fills the room before you speak. Not volume, but gravity. That's when you move from being noticed to being respected. Try this. When someone tries to pull you into drama, pause. Let silence hold the space. Ask yourself, does this moment deserve my words, or is my stillness the real answer? What happens to the room when I let restraint speak for me? At Stoic Daily, we believe presence is louder than defense. Drop "my presence is my power" in the comments. When did your restraint change the atmosphere? Leave a legacy of quiet strength. True presence isn't about being loud or chasing applause. It's about embodying something deeper: discipline, self-respect, and a steadiness others feel, even when you're silent. The most magnetic people never try to impress. They're remembered because their calm changed the room. People may forget your words, but they remember how your restraint and stillness made them feel, especially if your silence forced them to notice their own chaos. Reputation is built not on grand gestures, but on daily choices. Every time you resist the urge to clap back, every moment you quietly stand in your truth instead of seeking approval, you forge an identity that can't be shaken by misunderstanding. You become immovable, not for attention, but as a source of calm in a world of noise. This is the real reward, not applause, but the deep freedom to be centered anywhere, even if misjudged. When you stop fighting to be understood, you stop managing your image and start embodying your character. Your legacy is written by the quiet certainty you bring into every moment. That's the Stoic ideal, not loud or popular, but deeply respected. Not defined by reaction, but by unwavering self-knowledge. You don't have to fight to be seen. You only need to be so steady that misunderstanding loses its power. In a world addicted to noise, let your silence be what they remember. If this message spoke to you, keep moving forward. Watch the next video to deepen your journey. And remember, your quiet discipline is your true legacy. Drop a comment. I build my reputation in silence. When has your presence changed a room without saying a word?
If you're seeking more, discover the full path on my channel.